Hi, Beta. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me here. Such a
Mm,
pleasure. Mm.
I'm so grateful to have you here and finally that we can share this conversation to the listeners. And I want to ask you if you have any type of mindfulness practice or daily ritual that you do that is important for you right now.
Mm. I do, and it is really important in order to. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
In order to ground my day, I notice that this first moment of opening my eyes in the morning, and normally I process a little bit my dream. So not always I'm so good. I can remember my dreams, but I stay in bed a little bit to integrate, to process, to understand what was, and even if it's only energetically what I was experiencing during the night. Where did I go? Where, right? And I have a contract with my partner. We don't talk until we both did some self-care. And that is divine. It feels very grounding. Yeah, I have a practice of cleaning my nose, doing some net pot, and I do clean my tongue and use the oil, and I brush my body. I jump in the cold shower, get some warm oil because my skin has a tendency of getting very dry and vata type. So I ground myself, getting hot, warm oil on my skin. And then I see some days I practice yoga, some days I just go to the gym or to Pilates. I always give myself some at least 2-3 hours of my morning. I'm very privileged to start my day of working, of interacting with people. But that moment of silence that my partner and me, we agreed to have and first thing in the morning, at least until we meditate. We normally meditate together as well. I feel it's fundamental to have the quality of my day. It relies upon how I started. Yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful and so important because it is quite harsh to wake up and from that altered state that we are in the night and to then like directly get into the mental state and talking. So it's really beautiful, the silence and that you have that, and it's beautiful to do that together as well, and to you're there together but it's still like not quite yet like on that level. So I think that's very gentle and beautiful. Thank you for sharing that and all the practices that you do, because yeah, it's the mornings are so important. It sets the tone for the day, and
Mm.
even if we can't do it every morning, at least those mornings that we can, to be very mindful. And it's really beneficial in so many ways. It's so magical to have a
Mm.
beautiful practice in the morning, I think. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. My pleasure. If I can give people one tip, definitely, if you live in family or with your partner, or if you live with someone else, observe the moment of silence. As you said, we are coming from the dreaming time, which is so subtle and so tender many times. And normally we jump in all these mental activities, which what it feels is that we lose the real connection
Mm,
to to who we are, you know.
yeah.
And I notice when we are in that dreaming space, it's still in the morning and in silence, there is a space, a spot, a very sweet spot that we meet with someone that we don't meet as we're talking,
Mm,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
And that's when I
definitely.
feel families, they can get a much more deeper bond, couples, friends, just in that space, it is just connection, no
Mm.
words, right?
Yeah, definitely. So beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm really excited to talk to you today. And it's been like a magical journey of meeting you and having this synchronistic, like meeting from across the world, actually. And it's been beautiful month of getting to know you and your work and finding the synchronicities, and that we've also been in the exact same place within like I think 50 meters from each other, but not really meeting. So I'm really excited for you to maybe introduce yourself to the listeners first who haven't met you, and to share your amazing work and energy with us all.
Okay, so my name is Beta Lisboa. I have been teaching yoga, body work, trauma healing for about the last 3 decades. And I live in Bali now. I've been living in Bali for about 11 years. Left to Asia long time ago as well. I ended up in India. From India, moved to Bali and Thailand. So Asia has a very special, sweet space in my heart. And a lot what I learned, a lot of what I experienced in my life to offer. The gifts of the work I can offer has been cultivated in Asia. And yeah, there is a lot of support here about the religion, about the culture, how much these cultures, they support our spiritual practice, right? So I created a method of yoga that is based on fascia a few years ago, when I started teaching yoga and combining with all my other work with myofascial release therapy and trauma healing, also mindfulness. And this combination just became very powerful and very healing, right? And I can talk a lot about emotions related to our fascial system, to our organ system, and how our emotions get trapped in the body and create symptoms and pathologies. And I'm fascinated by that, and how much I used to say to my students, our fascial system is the storage room of our traumas, of our traumatic experience, right? Everything we experience is registered in the nervous system, but definitely in the body. And that's what I'm fascinated to explore, to go deep on that and work with women, because it was not by choice. Since many years I've been teaching trainings, and before my trainings was open for everyone. But I know that my niche was women. Women was very attracted to my work. I don't know, because the work was deep and gentle, deep and feminine at the same time, that my language. And then until I understood, okay, it's for women. And the work chose me.
That is so beautiful, and so much power in that wisdom of your own experiences in life, and then teaching and meeting so many people that you work with and accumulating all of this. And I think that's what was beautiful. So I met you, we were celebrating the Navaratri festival online with a lot of women from all over the world. Such a beautiful, magical, auspicious time. And I felt like it was an invitation, like from the goddess, for us to like connect and have a deeper healing, I think, as well, through the beautiful sessions that were created and shared in this Be Woman project. And I met you there, so I was in your workshop, and like everything that you were teaching, it really caught my eye, like what you were gonna teach about. And it was this beautiful mix of having the awareness of maybe like emotional trauma, but also the trauma of having surgeries or things done in your body, the hormonal aspect of the feminine cycles, like everything was so interesting. And I just felt this calling to connect with you, and so beautiful that you were also sharing this part of your yoga teacher training, which is a 200-hour training, which is a complete Yoga Alliance teacher training, and just come into the part which was so important for me and my healing work, which I also write a lot about in my book, about how healing is so on so many different levels. And this module that you shared a couple of weeks ago of trauma-informed yoga and mindfulness module, I feel like as a person who's on a healing path, but also as a person who's helping others on their healing path, both parts for me was so enhanced, because you took the best of what I believe is, and really love the modality of yoga and Chinese medicine, and really merging it together and merging these practices that were so, in a way, new to me, although I've also practiced for many years, and also having the opportunity to listen to other women's stories and to relate to them. And so I was really, a lot of processes started in me in this, and I would love for you to share like the program in whole, but also this trauma-informed yoga module, because for me, participating in that was like such a huge revelation and healing in itself.
Okay. As you know, as you were part of it, and I'm so pleased and happy that you had a chance to experience that gem, because from the 4 modules, I consider the trauma-informed mindfulness and yoga module a real gem, because the word, not that the other ones, they are not healing, but especially with the pandemic and all what we have been experiencing almost these last 2 years, I feel the world needs more sensitive people who are holding space for other humans that we know are affected by circumstances of trauma. Yeah. And of course, we have resilience, and our nervous system are different, but all of us, in certain levels, we have been affected by trauma, by what is happening right now, of not knowing, of fear, of losing their jobs, of losing their homes, of losing their beloved ones. And inside that, there will be the people who come to my therapy session. There will be the people who come to my yoga session, right? So the program is created to support anyone who are holding space for people to heal. I'm talking about one who are doing Reiki, body work, breath work therapy, yoga trainings, all sort of healing modalities, because we forget how sensitive the one who is in the other side are when they come to see us. And a simple language that is used in a way that is not appropriated may bring something on someone that is not appropriated, that it may, I don't say re-traumatized, but it may charge this person's nervous system instead of provide safety. So the training is a journey through the umbrella of mindfulness. So I teach how mindfulness is important to understand the work with trauma, right? To understand the work with yoga. So without mindfulness, I don't even feel there is yoga, because it's that presence, it's that state of pure awareness and sensitivity. So I teach the fundamentals and the biology of trauma. So anyone should know the basics of trauma, what trauma is and how trauma manifests in our system, and the basics of how to hold space for that. So I touch on polyvagal theory in a way that I also bring the polyvagal theory into practice. So helping people, helping the space holder and the students to self-regulate, to understand where they are in the nervous system using the polyvagal theory, because I feel that is extremely important and is so simple. So I say that this training is, it's simple and profound at the same time, right? And then how does it fit into the yoga class? So how we create sequences and how we bring that aspect to the yoga class. And then for me, all my trainings, all my modules, they are meant to heal and to do the work on the teacher and the space holder. So this module, what we do a lot is to do the work with the teachers to be, the people who are there to becoming teachers, to hold the space. They're going to do the work in their own nervous system. Because what I notice as well is that if I don't know where I am at with my nervous system, if I don't understand how to ground myself, how to regulate myself, this is what my students are gonna take from me. Someone ungrounded and someone with the nervous system very dysregulated. How can I hold the space for them? So the training is very practical, very experiential, because once I know where I am, I know how. So that is going to hold the space, because the
Yeah.
space is a field, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like also to experience yourself, to bring up certain things. It also increases your own empathy to work with others, like what is coming up for them throughout the class, what could be triggering, what could, like if you're not aware, it can be something that is just so basic that we forget that this could be triggering. And I think that, as you said, we're in a time where there is a lot of trauma, but people are not aware of it. But some people are becoming more and more aware. That's why we need to have a space where people can really land in that, and to let this come out to be healed. And that takes a lot of work. But I'm really interested, since you have so much experience and training in this somatic field, and the polyvagal theory was something new for me, actually. Maybe you want to just share, like, what is the basics of that and what you're teaching also in the course?
The polyvagal theory is a quite new concept and research that has been brought up by Stephen Porges, and basically it talks about our parasympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve became quite a well-known friend, like almost like our friend. The way we speak about the vagus nerve, it became like, oh, yes, we know about the vagus nerve now. There is so many videos, so many books on vagus nerve. So Stephen Porges brought up in the polyvagal theory the 3 states of our autonomic nervous system, okay? One state is the sympathetic. So the sympathetic is the fight or flight, right? And that is the action, is the part of our nervous system that makes us to do things, to create, to go for anything. So it's the actions, it's the movement. That's what I say. And it's also in a trauma circumstance, the sympathetic nervous system is where we develop our fight or flight reflex, okay? And then we have one branch of the vagus nerve, of the nerve, yeah, that it divides us in two. And that two branches are super important because one branch is the old nervous system, is the first one, which is the dorsal vagus. So the dorsal vagus is the freeze response. So it's the response that has been always there, existed in fishes. So the fishes, they had to save energy to be in the water, right? And they only developed, the only nervous system that they developed was the dorsal vagus, okay? And it's very primal. And then the second one, we came with the sympathetic. So the third one, the second branch of the vagus nerve, is our ventral vagal, which is the healing branch of the nervous system. The ventral vagal is the social system. It's the system of our parasympathetic nervous system, where I have a chance to heal the fight or flight, and from where I have a chance to heal the freeze response. And yes, is our social engagement. So from there is a lot that it goes on and on and on. But why that theory became so important? Because it brought the healing for trauma very much more simple than we could imagine it. Once we know what is happening in these three branches, in these three parts of our autonomic nervous system, we know how they are relating. We know what is happening to each one. And plus, as we understand where we at each moment, right now, in which part of my nervous system, from which part am I operating? Something happens. Where did my nervous system dropped? So that educate us. With that sort of education, everyone should know that. So it educates us for healing. So we can offer ourselves healing.
That is so beautiful, and to understand, I really feel like it makes a better picture, and seeing the system and understanding it on a deeper level really helps. And it's something that I think could be applied in so many ways. It's not just, it's something that all like healthcare professionals should know. It's something that all type of people that need to work with others need to understand. And it takes time to really integrate things, but I feel like this is such an important, especially when we're working, like you said, with like body working, or with healing or acupuncture, or like anything where we're working with people. It's good to understand the system. And I'm thinking that in the training we learned a lot about how different things can cause a trauma, and something that your partner in the program talked about also was that it can be something that we might not understand that it was even affecting our nervous system. And it's so interesting because it's we have so many people right now that identify as very empathic and highly sensitive. And it can be something that we've been throughout childhood, but it also, I see that in people who have had burnouts, or who have had, just emotionally tough periods in time, or a lot of stress. Then you can really, now I understand the connection with the nervous system a bit better, that it's really the symptoms that come up are all the same. So in the foundation, it's the same thing that happened in the body. But I'm also curious how you would, so if someone says, oh, but I don't know really what a trauma is, like, and what is, like, what does it mean to have post-traumatic stress, or Like, how can it look? You've been working with this for so long. Like, what is your like wider perspective and understanding of it?
Okay, that's a great question. So basically my teacher says that all of us, we have trauma. All humans, they had some sort of traumatic experience in their lives, because trauma can be something from prenatal sort of trauma, from the mother to have so much fear, going to difficulties and circumstances that it was shocked and passed it to the baby, to the, right? Some circumstances in the birth moment, which may cause trauma, yeah? Or it can be a shock trauma, something that happened when I was crossing the street and I saw a car accident. So this is, for example, another type of trauma. Something like child's abuse, something like women's abuse. Everything that got into our system and overwhelmed our system and didn't have a chance, the system didn't have a chance to regulate, to release, to discharge, and then come back to regulation again. So more that situation, that charge gets trapped in the system, it's causing symptoms, okay? And it's the symptoms of the trauma that we are here looking to heal, to release from the nerve system, to release from the body. It's not really the trauma anymore. The traumatic event was the cause. But if, let's say, by instance, there is a shock situation, I see a car accident, I'm riding my motorbike, I have to stop in front of a car, and all of a sudden what happens? The body starts shaking. If I let my body shaking discharge and I have appropriated regulation, that trauma doesn't stick in my system. Most probably not. Okay? But there is so many different circumstances and events, and more simple sort of trauma and more complex sort of trauma. Traumas that really damage our brain, traumas that damage our organs. It really causes much more deeper problem than just saying, oh, this is a fight or flight situation. Yeah. So trauma is any event in our lives that creates overwhelming situation, overwhelming sensations that the body, the system didn't have a chance to release, to discharge, and to regulate.
Definitely.
And basically, we all passed through that.
Right? Yeah. And it can be so the nature of it can be so different. And I think that one important thing is to recognize, how is my nervous system acting, right? If you start seeing that, because maybe you have certain things that are really signaling to you, but you're not understanding it really, what it is and how it's got stuck there. And I think if we say, okay, when we were 15, we were this is how we were in life and how we interacted with life. Then when we're 20, we have a different interaction. Then we're 30, then we have a different interaction, and so on. And that's like accumulating all of these experiences that we've had, maybe good and bad, or like they are just what they are. But I'm thinking that to come to an understanding that everything shapes us, and that we can also, so you said something so beautiful, so it stuck with me now in the call, like when we talked before this, that like an awakening is really the release of suffering to come to that place. That means that we also have to dedicate ourselves to our healing, because sometimes we're trying to do all these things, but the foundation is not really there. Maybe we're building on something, but it's not really grounded yet. So I'm thinking that for those that are listening and they really need to do this work, I really recommend this program for anyone, because I think that it gives you an understanding what I love about the program was that it's also recorded. So I'm continuously doing it now. So I'm doing the meditations, I'm practicing the physical practices. I can go back and listen to the lectures because I really need to do that. Because in the training, a lot of things came up. So I feel like there's so much more that I could take in now as I'm integrating it. But I'm also curious what you would say, like, what are the signs usually in us when we do have a nervous system that's not completely regulated? There's healing that needs to be done.
Okay, that is a very good question, because a lot is happening about, let's say, talking about burnout, right? Before burnout, there is signs telling us, okay, slow down, go slower. What are you doing, right? The body is telling us before we burn out. And normally we are so under the charge of cortisol and adrenaline in our system. There is so much put there that we are not even realizing that the way we are acting, the way we are living, the way we are functioning, it's based on the fight or flight. Okay? What I'm saying with that is we keep on pushing this achievement mode in this until it becomes a stress mode. From achievement mode, it becomes stress mode until it becomes a full burnout. And then there is a collapse, right? So we can notice if one is able to rest. One can have 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. How is your digestion? How can your mind become present? Is that possible for you to feel moments of presence? How is the perception of what is the amount of work the reality and what you can take? Because one of the symptoms I had when I burn out, I could not have 3 jobs in front of me, that I would panic. So anything becomes overwhelming. Okay? So this is a very big, clear symptoms. They are very big, clear symptoms, just pre-burnout. All right? Because once we really burn out, it's hard to recover. And then there is also symptoms of freezing. Noticing when you interact, noticing how you are living your life, if the state of presence, if you're the connection to the felt sense. What I mean is connection to the body sensations, to what I'm really feeling, it's present there, or I'm more in the daydreaming state. I'm more into flying here than presence. That is also a very big sign that a compromised nervous system already, that is a lot on freeze, right? And there is so many symptoms that I can mention here that we take in life. Is really interesting how we when we become aware of trauma symptoms and trauma sensitive. We know that most of humanity, most of the population are functioning under trauma symptoms, fight or flight or freeze. And we don't know, because that is what is normal. because we never knew how to operate different. So it's not until we start having the first glimpses of what is a deep relaxation is, what a deep sleep can be. Oh, I digest now. Oh, I can feel. I can take a holiday and not thinking about work, for example. I'm able to stop everything. Something like that. Does it make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And it is like the body knows, let's say if you had a burnout, it's like the body, you know, this state of being like energetic or very like you start slowing down. You can do that consciously or unconsciously. It depends on the body, how it's, what experiences it had. But it's exactly what you said. It's the nervous system really gives us like clear signs in our sleep in how we are reacting to different stimuli like light, sound. I mean, some people don't react to any of it, and then some of us, we're very sensitive to most of it, and maybe take time to wind down and not be in this tense state and not reacting very quickly to things. That can be both trauma, like the trauma aspect, and then the stress is almost like a traumatic, because if you have that extreme stress on many levels, it's on a physical level, it's on an emotional level, it's on the mental level, then it's like the body naturally says, no, now we need to shut down. Like now, then things become very overwhelming because the body knows like the patterns, like no, we can't do that, so we have to like focus. Or, and it's really hard, I think, to truly come back to a place where you're almost numbed out and can do anything. And in one way that's very good, because that means that we have to honor the body and slow down. You can't go back to like multitask and do all these things that are anyways not good for you. To be present, it's really not serving you to do that. So I think in the world we live now, we need to take time for that, because it's not naturally happening anymore. We're on the computer, on the phone, it's always happening things. So you can also see what is triggering you. If it is triggering to get a notification on your phone, for example, it does, why do you have it then? Then you can shut it off to balance your, and then mindfulness practice, definitely, I feel. And I really love the work of what the yin yoga does. Maybe a lot of people know about yin yoga, but how does the yin yoga differ from the other practices of yoga, do you think?
Okay, beautiful question. Can I just come back a little bit to what, because what you said was really so important and so relevant for that talk, I feel. I keep in my mind about yin yoga. It's just one point here. It's really interesting talking about sensitivity, and some of us, when we are in the freeze state, it will be a lot of stimulation and the world is completely fine. Nothing affects me. So be aware when, if you are too much in that space, in that state, that nothing's affecting me. So it's something to look at, because I can see some people, they can't be affected by big noise, lot of light, lot of stimulation, and that it doesn't affect them at all. But of course, it's because the nerve system is already so burned, so compromised, that there is a big dissociation there. There is a big freeze state, right? And the other one is how much am I getting affected by everything? Everything overwhelms me. I can't take anything. I can't take too many people talking. I can't take a little louder music, too much light, whatever it is. that it affects me too much. And then that is also something to look at, because when you become hypersensitive to everything, it's because the nervous system cannot cope anymore. And these two states, it's really important to know that you're having big symptoms, and the last will be a big burnout. And then it's almost too late, because it's a lot, it takes a lot to recover from burnout, right? Yeah. About the yin yoga, how what the yin yoga is, how the yin yoga operates and helps, and why yin yoga is related to mindfulness so much and to the trauma work, right? At first, I feel having the time and space and no agenda, okay, of a practice, because the very first principle, the very first principle of the yin yoga is that it's a feminine, is a receptive, is a no, is a practice out of interest. So when I come to my mat, my job there, if there is a job, if there is something to do, is just being full presence. So that gives space in the energetic level, offers a lot of space for me to connect to my felt sense, to make it into a meditative practice, yeah, and connect to my breath, because there is time and space in the posture, and there is no agenda to get anywhere, to go deeper, to get more flexible, to get stronger, nothing. So it's a full mindfulness practice, because when I'm in the moment, that my job is just to observe what is happening in the moment, out of any judgment, agenda, ideas, nothing. I'm just there to notice what is happening. So this is already a mindfulness practice, right?
Yeah.
And then in the tissues, when we talk about the physical level of yin yoga, I'm working with the fascial tissue. For many people, fascia is still a new word, like vagus nerve, polyvagal theory, but it's the white tissue, it's the connective tissue in our bodies. I know a lot of people knows that already, but it's also the tissues that is most innervated and has a lot of receptors. So there is a lot of information running in the fascial tissue. So a lot of the trauma, all our history, all our experiences, good or bad, as we wanna tag them, label them, just experiences we had, yeah, they are imprinted in our fascial system. Okay, so I developed a system that I use tools like tennis balls, cups, like 10 Chinese medicine cups, gua sha, different sort of tools, self-myofascial release, body work, to release the tensions that the trauma lives in the fascia. Okay, so of course, if there was emotional trauma, physical trauma, the fascial tissue, the white tissue, the connective tissue, also the muscles, gets stagnant. So we get stagnation, we get a blockage, we get tension. And there are symptoms of that some energy has been stuck there, has been stored there. What we're doing with the yin yoga is we are moving those points. We are releasing that fascial tissue, and with a physical release, of course, an emotional release is going to follow. And then there is a regulation. If the teacher is skilled properly, is skilled enough, they will know how to guide the person into a regulation for the nervous system. And that's what is the magic of the system. We go from bottom up. We go from the body, releasing those tensions, releasing those stagnations in the organ system, right? We go to the organs, to the fascia, to have an emotional response. And then there is a regulation. And with that, what do we have? We have neuroplasticity. We are work with epigenetics, because change my fascia, I change my body, I change my beliefs, I change my thoughts, I change my DNA.
That is so beautiful. Such a direct tool to go in so many levels. And it's so lovely to practice this form of yoga, which also, and also what we learn in the program, in this 50-hour program, was also the connection to the elements of Chinese medicine, which is connected so much to the practice of yin yoga. So not just practicing it, but also understanding why we're working with certain meridians. We have the points that we're working with that is really a source point on the channel. And all of these tools that you say that you use, like for me, it's, and I've been teaching for a long time, but I've never used these many different tools and assets, which all together give a holistic, connection to the body, connection to the emotions. In Chinese medicine, we talk about emotions being connected to the organs, and we learning about the meridian system. So it goes even deeper than just the physical practice. We really understand what we're moving, what energy we're moving, which element we're working with. And that connects us also to the seasons and nature in a different way. We understand in this season what we need, for example. And for me, that's important, that we, all the cycles that we're part of the moon cycle, we're part of the cycle of nature, we're part of the cycle of the universe. It really all is showing us our inner nature, and our inner nature is also showing us what's outside of us. So it's really connecting so much. And if you are working on a deeper spiritual level, you get a different understanding. And like you said, it's so releasing and so relaxing. It's also creating this opposite of how our lives are generally, where we're always producing and being effective, to find that effectivity, but in a receptive way where so much happens. And I feel like with yin yoga also, you really allow yourself to really go deep and to find that inner flexibility. And it's a great complement to every other physical practice that we do, because we don't do it like that anywhere else. So I really love that. And yeah, I mean, we could talk about so many more aspects of this and so much more of your experience, and we will do that in upcoming episodes for sure, because there's so much that you've shared that I would love for you to share with the listeners. And do you have anything else you want to share as a last point in this conversation?
Thank you for bringing up the organ system, because it's really a very important part of what we're teaching and part of our beings. The Western medicine really forgotten how important the organs are. They are fundamental. So what I love about the yin fascial yoga system be so connected to the meridian system, the 5 elements organs, the seasons, is that the healing happens from inside out, from the root. I think we talked about that just before when we were talking. You go to the root cause of the problem, right? Which is going to be in the organs. So the organs operate and are responsible for the health of our muscles, the health of our tendons, the health of our bones, the health of our nervous system, the health of our endocrine system. And if we go to the roots, which are the organs, we heal, and we heal the roots, you know. That's so, it's so beautiful and so important. And in this module, like my partner Sai, he shares this part of how trauma and what quality of energy of the trauma get stored on each different organ. And that for me is fascinating, because then you understand, okay, that quality here, which was part of the traumatic event, is stored in my kidneys, or it got stored, it is stuck on my liver or the lungs, right? So this is also really fascinating and important to understand, because we talk a lot about organs, meridians at home, and fascia, and the sacs, the fascial system, the fascia wraps and protects each organ. So there is a lot of information on each organ, because it's a connective tissue, it's a fascial protected part of our bodies, you know. And that is, yeah, it's deep. It's hard sometimes to say, okay, there is so much to talk in 30 minutes, but I feel that for people who are interested in be more connected to the felt sense, what I mean with that, be more connected to the sensations, because the sensations, the body talks a lot. Yeah. Sometimes they confuse what my emotions are or my thoughts. So sensations are not really emotions. Sensations are very tangible, it's really in the body. And trauma is one of the things, the main thing that disconnects us from our felt sense. Because of course, because the experience of trauma is in the body, and our consciousness disconnect from that experience for not to feel pain, for not to go to the pain again, right? So it's very normal defense mechanism. And for someone who would like to understand more and would like to go deeper in the felt sense, because there is no embodiment if you're not able to connect to your felt sense. We talk about a lot about embodiment, but it's really important to know that not everyone is ready to embody. Because if I'm carrying certain amount of trauma that disconnected myself from my body, I'll have to have the right approach to bring myself back to my body. Because in the first place, there was a moment that was too hard to remain in this body. So the consciousness left. Now we talk a lot about embodiment and yoga, embodiment and somatic therapies. But that's why I feel is really important, us who are holding space for embodiment, to be trauma sensitive. Because otherwise we are giving invitation to someone to embody, to come back to the body without being possible, without the right tools for the invitation.
Yeah, that's so true. And thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so grateful that you took your time to share today. I think all of the listeners will definitely relate to all of the things that we spoke about, because we all have different experiences in life where we need to really work on that. And I think if you are on a path, a spiritual path and on a healing path, this could benefit so much. And I really recommend to check out this program, which is now available recorded as well. So it's going to be like self-paced, which is great. And I appreciate that I can go back and do the things over and over, and to have that as a toolkit for myself. So I will link to the program in the show notes and to your website. And is there anything else you want to share that you're sharing right now, or people can join, or any offerings that you have besides the program?
Yes, I also offer mentoring and coaching for women who are going through any sort of trauma, or for anyone who would like to do a work with me. This is something that I've been doing since long time, and I love guiding and coaching women to find their full potential, to really shine and get into the really full potential.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
And we're gonna be launch the modules again. Yeah, the modules are pre-recorded, but each time we launch, we're gonna have you're gonna have an opportunity to have meetings with me inside the modules. So this is also something good, because of course the presence is a direct transmission, right?
Yeah, definitely. So valuable, and to connect with others as well. So that's really beautiful. So I want to thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again very soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Shereen. Really
Mm,
appreciate that invitation. Thank you for
mm,
having me here.
Thank you.